Hey, cousin.
You look so pretty.
I put on some makeup, so I won't look so sheepy today.
You look pretty.
Thank you.
Ooh. We're so crazy. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Good evening. So we are excited to see you all on another Tuesday. This is part 2 of the series with our DAR therapist with her fine self. That's my cousin. Can't you tell? If y'all been watching us any length of time, you know we are steadily and we still here together.
When you find your tribe.
Yeah.
Yay!
I don't get to be like this often, but
Right.
I just thought my shirt was a little okay.
I was like, I got my shirt on.
Get that together. You got your shirt on.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay, so what are we talking about this evening, Shimeka?
We are talking about healing.
Yeah.
Healing from past hurts and traumas. And so what we talked about last week was
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago we talked about what we talked about 2 weeks ago.
We talked about women taking some time to heal before getting into other relationships and not seeing negativity in terms of all men, being careful about the words that they're speaking.
And so it was even about, was it about friendships and romantic relationships too?
No, just about romantic relationships.
Okay.
So,
okay, yes.
This week we are talking about healing from past traumas.
Right.
So a little bit of what we talked about in part 1 series, but we're going to delve a little bit deeper.
Right.
In terms of healing your past traumas.
Yes.
So we did want to just recap very quickly about what the first part of the series was about. So we touched on having negative thoughts
about
as it relates to relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If you have negative thoughts about a relationship, then it's going to, whatever you speak about relationships is what's going to come into your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't take the time to heal in between relationships, that can sometimes be a barrier for you. Yeah. And so we talked about some of those things in the previous session, and we just wanted to delve very deeply into the conversation about healing from your past traumas, healing what's in our heart.
Yes.
And some of those things, and even being able to identify that, because sometimes what happens, cousin, we think we good, right?
Right. I'm good. I did all my healing. I did all my work. I'm good.
So let's get into it. Hey, bro, what's up? Good evening. Happy Tuesday. So let's get right into it.
Yes. Okay. So, like we talked about last week, it was about what we speak in in regards to a relationship. Okay, I'm gonna stop with hi everybody. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Well, see, that's why I said let's get started, because we'll end up getting interrupted
Waving
and doing
everybody. Yeah.
So
hi guys. Hello.
We're gonna break for questions and acknowledgments and all of that at some point.
Okay.
But I have to tell everybody, my cousin is a little bit ADD, so she'll get distracted.
A lot of bit.
And then
a lot of bit. I'll be like,
and then we'll
I did good last week, though. I did good last week.
You did real good. You weren't even looking at the comments. I
did good.
Okay, so we did the recap.
Okay.
And we started talking about how people need to identify, and sometimes don't even know how to identify that healing may need to start.
And first of all, let's even go back to when we talked about how when we had those negative comments about even the other, the other partner or other sex, that means you need healing right there. That right there. If you have, if you're angry, if it brings up anger and frustration of any, like say you say somebody's name, you guys, oh, don't say their name. You need to heal from that.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring up somebody's name and you be like, oh my God, they're gone and I'm missing them, you need to heal from that. If you bring up something and it's like, ooh, and you knew he wasn't healthy, you need to heal, or they weren't healthy, whoever it is, you need to heal from that. So, and I think, and when we talk about trauma, you know, when it comes to trauma, we think we've moved on. But I'm going to tell you how you know you haven't moved on. If you keep having unhealthy dynamics in your life, and whether that be friendships or romantic relationships. So sometimes, say we had an abusive mother or somebody like a family member, whatever, and it was an emotional abuse, but then we keep choosing people that do the same thing. Or we always want validation from, or we always needed validation from our parents and they never gave it to us, right? And we choose friends that we got to be like, you like me? Do I look good? Is everything okay? I'm gonna make this decision. Is it okay if I make this decision? Like, what do you think about it? What do you think about it? Right? Mm-hmm. When you're relying on there because you don't believe that you're good enough to make the decision, right? Yeah. That you're not confident enough in your own choices to make the decision. Mm-hmm. And you need that validation. If you are constantly in and out of relationships that are unhealthy and where you're left crying, you need to, there's some healing to be done. If sexual trauma, if you are, I had a conversation with this a friend of mine, and he said he noticed the women that he had, he said 90% of the women he dated had sexual trauma. First of all, I said something about his choices in women too, but and they hadn't dealt with it. They hadn't dealt with the sexual trauma, right? Or they hadn't worked through it or worked past it. He said that some of them are very timid, like they're very timid sexually, or that's all they do, right? That's how they show their worth is through we're having sex, and that means you love me. That's what love is. You love me, let's have sex. You don't have sex with me, that means you don't love me and I feel rejected. You need to work on that, you know? And so but here's the thing. What did you say, Keya? People say when you think this is easy.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you that it's not. Okay? It's not. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why it's not is because some of us use our coping mechanisms to even avoid stuff that we dealt with in the past. And so when you're running and you always running from it, keeping yourself busy. And I think I've mentioned this before, when COVID shut down, a lot of people had a hard time because their coping mechanisms was cut. Yeah. Their distractions was cut. And so when you always running because you don't want to face it. So yes, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And when you find yourself when I think about relationships that I found myself in, where I was like trying to keep telling them that I'm important. Look at me. I'm important. Look, I'm important. Like, focus on me. I'm important. And you got to always do that in a relationship. That's not healthy. You need to work on some stuff. Look at me. Look at me. You know? And so the question is, why do I keep choosing this? And we mentioned this last session, what do I need to do to create something different in my relationships? It starts with you. What do I need to work on to create something different in a healthy relationship with myself? Some people, I know people that can't even, don't like to be in a room by themselves. They can't even be in their home by themselves because it causes them to think. And so when you're in there by yourself, or you're at home by yourself, and you got to keep on doing something sometimes, and I'm not saying all the time, sometimes that might mean that you are running from something else. When you are always distracted.
I'm glad said that, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But even when you said, like, even sitting still, you're not sitting still, right? And even like COVID, right? So COVID was it forced people to sit in their homes, but it didn't necessarily force them to sit still. People found other distractions. So they found something online, or they were constantly just on the phone with people, or they just constantly watch Netflix all day, or they found something entertaining on their phones to do. It was if the longer we run from it, the longer it's going to take us to get to that space. And I think the initial thing is, like you said a little bit earlier about when we were talking about this, and I said, I've had people say to me, you make it seem easy. And I acknowledged that I do sometimes. I do. To the people who only know me, the Keya in Dallas version, right? Because the people who know me for, 10, 20, 30 years, they know this ain't been easy. And so you and other people have been able to see the journey, and that when I first started, first I was resistant to it. Then secondly, I was like, this shit is hard. And it looked hard. I looked hard, And so it's not this easy peasy, healing is beautiful. You just run through flowers. And I have been guilty of the appearance of it looking that way, but it's not. It's difficult, and I'm continuously healing. It's forever healing, right? We're always on this path. We're always on this journey, but we have to be able to acknowledge that healing is needed there, right? Because if we don't acknowledge it and we're just like, oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
Like, even when I hear people say that, so about a month ago, I want to share this. About a month ago, I was talking to somebody, and they were like, oh, yeah, like, it's not me. It's like, and I was like, when I tell you that's a huge turnoff for me, it's a huge red flag. I'm like, peace. Ain't nothing wrong with you. I'm good.
Right.
Because I deal with people with something wrong with them, and they acknowledge that something's wrong with them, right?
Yeah. Hey, right.
Like, but you can't tell me ain't nothing wrong with you. And it's always other people. Nah, I'm good on that. Because I know you're not in the space of healing. I know you're not in the space of growth, because we all got some issues.
Yes.
We all got some growth and some healing to do. And so yes, but when you said that, everybody doesn't acknowledge it all the time. And sometimes people will say it looks easy. Like, this is continuous work daily. And I'm going to tell you something else. I know when I need to heal, when I'm not obedient to myself. When I see things and then I ignore it, and I let certain things pass, and I'm like, no, Keya, you've already learned from that. Like, you're going to go down the path that's not going to be healthy for you, but I still do it. That lets me know I still got healing to do, because I'm not 100% acknowledging my boundaries of myself. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I know I always have healing to do. I will always have it to do.
It's a constant, continual journey. Because stuff will show up, and you be like, "Oh, I didn't even know I was going to respond like that." Like, you like, ooh.
Yeah.
You had mentioned okay, it'll come back to me. It's the like, it's not. So it's the thing is that it's like this. Oh, because you mentioned when people say it wasn't me, it was them. It was them. That's one of the questions, like, I'll ask somebody, like, about their previous relationships, like if I'm dating somebody or dealing with somebody, and I'll ask, like, oh, why'd you guys break up? And if they don't ever say, keep making the same mistakes until we learn. Right. If they always say, if it's always somebody else, I'm like, you the issue. You the issue.
Yep.
You know, I'll be like, you the issue.
Yep.
I might not say it. I'll be like, oh, okay. I'll start asking questions like, so, you know, because sometimes I'll be like, well, sometimes, you know, two people can, you know, sometimes it's not just the one person. Like, was there anything you could have done differently? They'd be like, nope, I did everything they asked. I'll be like, okay.
That's
right.
exactly how my conversation went.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Because I'll be like, because my motto is everybody crazy as hell. It's the level of crazy you willing to deal with. And I'm not willing to deal with everybody's level of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm just not. So
Facts.
you keep yours and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. Keep your crazy. Let me see. I wrote down some of the stuff we talked about too. Oh, yes. About healing being and what it is uncomfortable because you're stepping outside of the norm of what you tend to do, and you're stepping into something that's foreign to you. So it's going to feel uncomfortable because you're doing something that you're not used to doing. So if, for instance, I was used to, and I might refer back, you know, because I'm still single and I'm still, you know, I date and stuff, but so I've still had to deal with some things with being molested and choosing people out of protecting myself, right? And so when it was about being vulnerable, like I just was how I'm 47. Girl, that just 2 years ago. I just learned how to be vulnerable. That was one of my what's the boards that we did? You know, the boards that you do every year, and they
vision
put
board.
a vision board. I wanted to break down my walls because I knew there was no way I can have any type of relationship with anybody if I didn't break down the walls, right? And so I had to be vulnerable with myself.
Yep.
And so one day, when I realized, like, okay, there was something going on with me, right? I was married. I've been married for several years, and through the several years, I was not faithful to my husband. And so, the only time I was during the year I was pregnant. That's it. That's all. See how vulnerable that was? Look at that. And I was like, something is going on. Like, this is not okay. Like, how I'm behaving. Like, I felt like something else was controlling me. I didn't like that feeling. And so one day, me and my other cousin was reading, I don't know, we was reading some magazine or something. And they were talking about sexual addiction. They were listening to things that let you know you have sexual addiction. And we were reading and we were like, oh, that sounds like me. That sounds like me too. That sounds like me too. And I was like, we start crying like it's us. Oh my God. I mean, man, we started crying like, oh shit, I've really been dealing with, for real. This is like, I've been really dealing with this. And I really feel like I can't stop. I really felt like that was taking control of me. And so I had to really like dig deep and set myself down. And I had to start. So I started looking up like programs I can get into. Like I started doing the research because here's what I've learned. I've learned the moment you say, I don't want this no more. The moment you say it's time for a change, the moment you say that, the universe is like, finally, we got you. Don't even worry about it. Got you.
Absolutely.
And start bringing stuff into your life. You'll be looking for stuff, and that's fine. Keep looking and do everything you can, because then you just confirming that this is what you want to do. Yeah. And the thing is that it's just getting to the work. The work is going to be tough because you're not used to doing it. I had to. The reason why like addiction is hard or certain behaviors is hard to get rid of is because you don't want to feel the pain of not having it. You don't want to feel the pain of not having it. I would be cranky if I didn't have sex. I would be upset and I'd be irritable. And I didn't want to feel that because it was like, again, it was like me sitting in my whatever. I couldn't use that as a coping. And so it hurt. It was painful. Like I was like, oh, it was emotional painful. I was like, oh, I was angry and irritable. And so most people don't want to feel that. Most people don't want to deal with that. Most people don't want to face that or go through that. They're like, no, I don't want to feel none of that. I don't want to feel none of that. I don't want to talk about none of that. I don't want to deal with none of that. That's not healing. That means you don't want to heal. That means you don't want it. And it's okay because this is your life. Right. If you want things to change, you have the option to choose it. If you don't want it to change, it's okay too. But just know nothing's going to change. And those negative thoughts you keep saying about yourself and other people go stay there, because you don't want nothing to change. It's going to stay the same. Mm-hmm. It's going to stay the same. And so getting outside of your comfort zone is like having to face reality of what occurred. I really had to face like being molested and who molested me. I had to really face it. I had to really deal with it. I had to really, I even started writing poetry, right? I used to love people. I used to watch people and be like, I like that they write. I wish I can write poetry. I wish I can write poetry.
And everybody can write poetry.
When I started to, when I would start going through that, I was like writing poetry about the pain. I was like, ooh, right? I was writing poetry. However the pain needed to come out, I needed it to come out. And I was writing poetry. It was bomb too. It was bomb poetry. And did I tell you did I tell y'all this last time? My car got stolen. My car got stolen with my poetry notebooks in it. And I was like, and it was the one moment I was like, and it was weird because I felt like I shouldn't even put the stuff in the car, right? I felt like I shouldn't have put it in the car, and I did. Something told me not to put in the car, but I did. And it was my laptop. My laptop was like, and my notebooks. And my laptop, I was like, don't put in the car, the laptop in the car, don't put it in the trunk, because I was going to work out. And I was going to go somewhere else on the way back, you know. And I put that mug in the trunk, and my car, the keys, I was jogging around, and somebody got my keys and drove my car off, and them notebooks was gone. And that was the last time I wrote about the pain. That was the last time I wrote about that pain. And I started writing poetry about other things. And and for me, it was like, okay, it's time to move on from that.
Yeah.
It was, but again, that was just the beginning, y'all. That was just the beginning.
That's good that you even acknowledge that though. Like, so because when I started writing, it was a release. It's always been a release, right? And I feel like that's what helps me to continue my release. But you felt like, and this is the thing about us being different, right? Everybody out here being different and having their way and their different processes, because, excuse me, you felt like when that car was stolen with your notebooks, that was it. It was, at least that part was released for you.
Well, I was still worried about the car, and I was like, oh, shoot. But when I found the car and it was out of the car, like they found the car, we found the car. But when I opened the trunk and everything was gone, and I couldn't remember the poems, I couldn't remember what I'd written. And I was like,
Yeah.
And I was trying to bring it back. I really was trying to bring it back. I really was. And when I couldn't bring it back, it was like, that time is up. That moment is over. Yeah.
That was your release. So the notebooks being gone, it was like, okay, well, I got it out. It was almost as if you burned it, you know, like the burning ritual, like the burning rituals that we do sometimes.
I never burned it.
Yep. And so, but that was your burning ritual without you actually burning, right?
Yes.
And so, I love the fact that you even were able to acknowledge that, you know, because I think sometimes we don't always recognize on our journey, like, and we don't always give ourselves the grace and the love that we need to give ourselves, which is why we sometimes look outwardly for that, right? Because what did we talk about in the last discussion? And then you just brought it up. We typically become addicted to something or some things as an escape to avoid our healing. And that something can be, you know, as I said in the previous live we did, that something can be alcohol. It can be drugs. It can be sex. It could be shopping. It could be so many different things, right? And so when you don't address it, you're going to go to the default, right? If you don't address it, if you don't acknowledge it, if you're in denial, you're going to keep going to the default. And the life you choose is the life you choose, as you said. You don't want healing, healing is not going to come to you.
It's not.
You don't submit to yourself. When you talked about vulnerability starts with self, right? The way that I felt when I had to, just like that look you had on your face, that feeling you had of reading, okay, all of these things identify sexual addiction, right? And I remember Iyanla Vanzant and reading her book and identifying some things in myself like, oh, I mean, to the pit, down to the pit of my stomach. Like, oh, girl, you got some stuff inside of you.
Yep.
You got to deal with some stuff. And that initial feeling is shame.
Yes.
That initial feeling
I
is
wanted to call
shame.
people and apologize.
Yes.
I was like, I need to call and apologize.
I lost a lot of friendships. I lost a lot of people. And so that's why, like, now when it's funny because people will say, oh, you release people. And it's the joke. But it really is like, I was released a lot from people. And I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
I should have been. Mm-hmm. Right? Even acknowledging the fact that I should have been released from people. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't deserve them at that time.
Right.
I didn't deserve to be in their space because I was wreaking havoc because of my pain, because of my shit, because of all of that. And so they didn't deserve that. And so when I release people now, that's how I see it. You don't deserve me right now. You don't deserve to be in my space. You don't deserve to wreak havoc in my space.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's about acknowledging those things and embracing those things so you can grow and so you can evolve and so you can heal. Right. That's a beautiful thing to even know, but the shit ain't pretty when you're going through it.
No. And here's the thing too, when you said having to release people, you know how big an issue that is? People don't want to release people. They want to hold on to people. Guess what? Abandonment issues. I don't want to release. I know it's not healthy. I know it's not healthy for me, but I'm going to keep it around because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be by myself. I don't want to. Abandonment issues.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep what's unhealthy because I don't want to release anything because I want to hold on to it. That's not healthy.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of self-love to release somebody. It takes a lot of self-love to say, you know what, this is no longer working. And it's okay. That takes a lot. And when I tell you, I still like, I've done it and then I'd be like, dang, I did it again. I brought somebody else in. I'm like, this is something that still shows up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm grateful. Like, I'm grateful. And again, it just starts with, if you don't even get the fact that, I remember I was in school at Chaffey College, and I remember I was in a class. I don't even know why I was in this class, but the class was about, I don't know what the class was about, but we were talking about this book, The Hero's Journey. And the hero's journey, like if you watch any story, any book, the hero's journey, they come and be like, you know, they tell the hero, like, this is going on. What you gonna do, hero? Right? And the hero could either take that step. He has to, but even before he takes a step, he has to make that decision. Everybody's hero's journey, all it takes is a decision in your head first. You don't even have to take a step nowhere. It's in your head. You're saying, this has to change. Yeah. This has to change. When I tell you stuff opened up, like, boom, like it was just, and even stuff would show up. And it's so funny too, because it's so funny because I'll have like clients that's in my sessions, they'll be like, the enemy, or people be like, the enemy didn't show. And sometimes, especially if you're going for healing, sometimes what if that's not the enemy, right? What if that's God just showing you, you've got some stuff that you still need to work on? Like he brought up, like, so say like you like, okay, I'm doing this healing. So again, for me, I'm doing this healing, right? So then somebody in my past shows up and I'm like, hey man, right? Hey, right? Okay, I still need some work to do. Okay, I still need some work to do because I know that wasn't healthy. I need some work to do, right? So it might not be the enemy. The enemy is going to set me up. Nope, the enemy not setting you up. God is showing you, you ready? You ready for this change? Because this still is here. This still right here. You gotta work on that right there. Okay, work on that. Okay. Oh, you made it through that one. Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah. You know, so some things still come up because it's like a pimple. It's like the pimple coming to his head, right? You got to pop the pimple, get all the dirt out, So something's gonna come to the head to remind you that this is something you need to work on, and it's gonna keep on showing up until you're ready to work on it, till you're ready to deal with it, to where you're ready to face it.
I think it's also really a reflection of you, right? So whatever's coming is showing you. Whatever keeps coming is like, hey, that's you.
Yeah,
that's you looking at. That's you need to heal from. They have the traits. They have all those things you got. And that's the thing that people be like, and they. No, baby, it's you. It's me, right? So when I see certain things about other people, I'm like, okay, Keya. Okay, Keya. All right, girl.
Right. Right.
You got to sit with this thing, girl.
Yes.
Because it might be you, right? And so I've had to acknowledge that a number of times, and I've had to even acknowledge the fact that I got to that place because I didn't trust myself. I've always struggled with trusting myself. So just like with being vulnerable with myself, I would struggle with trusting myself. So I'm letting people in who are a reflection of me as I'm trying to heal from that very thing. You ain't got no business in my space. I'm healing from this thing. I'm letting you in. And I had the feeling, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, we always want to blame other people, but it's us. It's us.
Man. Yes. Yep. I remember it was this guy. We were singing at church. I used to sing at the church, right? And it was this guy that wanted all the attention. He used to get on my nerves. I couldn't stand him. And when I realized why I couldn't stand him, I was like, because I like it. He reminded me of myself. Want all the attention.
All right. Let's take a few comments real quick.
Oh.
All right. The first
I was like, who is that talking? Who that is? Where he at?
Just your baby daddy. All right. So Janelle said that comfort zone can make you miss out on life. That's one. Marcus said, my strongest enemy is myself. Janelle said, she preaching. And Tam was like, they?
Okay, y'all, thanks for interacting with us. And I was going to actually stop in a minute to say, gather your questions, gather your comments. We're going to address all of the comments like we did the last time and the last 10 minutes of the session.
Right.
So we're at 7:35 now. So it's 7:50. Take your notes, write down your questions, write down your comments. You can still comment in here. But if you have something that you want to ask of Shimeka as we get to the last 10 minutes, please have those questions and comments ready. Because we're going in heavy, y'all. We're going in heavy. We're going in heavy.
I want to, and remember, and we talked about a couple, so because remember last week, he's like, give me some tools. Okay. We talked about this. Okay. So one of them, I know, because Keya's journal, that journaling ain't no joke. Like, and there is, and I like how she explains that there is different forms of journaling. Yes. That journaling is it, right? Also, I was saying, what if you wrote yourself a love letter talking about the great things about you? What if you was able to see, because here's the thing, we always able to see something wrong about us. Now, what if you wrote a love letter to yourself, telling yourself how amazing you are, the gifts that you have, how you are good to people, how you are kind to others, how you make sure you good, make sure you're taken care of, and man, you a good bill payer. You could pay some bills. You on top of your credit. Look at you. And then and Keya had mentioned earlier when me and her were talking, being gentle with ourselves, being gentle with you, be kind to you. You are not bad. And that's the whole thing too. When you look in that mirror, because then you think, oh gosh, I'm broken. I'm trash.
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling, oh gosh, I remember feeling like that. I remember feeling like that, and I'm like, I'm fucking about to cry, but I really remember feeling like that because, I felt like with my husband, like I was like not a good wife, and I felt like I'm trash. I'm nothing. Like I am treating him like shit. I'm treating me like shit. Like I'm just allowing people to, to be in my space, and I'm trash. Like I really felt like I was trash, and I had to tell myself, you are not trash.
Yep.
Like you're an example of the trauma that happened to you.
Yep.
This is the example of that. And you are still loved, and you are still amazing. I had to keep telling myself that. I still have to tell myself that now.
Right.
And I'm so grateful that now I no longer have to, like when I say, like when like I can't even say it. Like you
Yeah.
said, girl, who's you about to say? Who's you about to say that to? Right? Because, but I remember having those thoughts all the time, like I'm just not good. I'm not good enough. I'm no good. Like, who gonna ever want me? Because look at what I'm doing. And it's a lie. It's a lie. It's what we told ourselves. Again, that wall is what we told ourselves. So I'm not good enough. So I'll put this wall up anyway. So that way nobody else can come in. They won't see that I'm no good. They won't really see me, So what if we write ourselves a love letter telling yourself how amazing you are?
As we talk about those tools, cousin, I think like that's so, when I said like really give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, because it's a lot to look at yourself and really take inventory of the fact that I've got work to do. But that's okay, because I'm also a great person, right?
Right.
Because those two things can coexist.
Yes.
I can need work and be a great person.
Right.
And being able to acknowledge that and know that and be able to pour. And what happens here, and this is something that came out in my therapy, what starts to happen is I start to look from validation from myself, right? I'm looking for the validation from myself, because I've started to pour into myself. So even though I know I got all these things to do that I need to work on, and I got all these issues that might be there that I need to resolve and heal from, but I also can say, but girl, do you know what you did? You was a teen mama.
Even through it all.
To college,
man,
and got
even
3 degrees, baby.
Yes.
I did that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I did that. And so being able to be like, well, Keya, you was doing too much. You were very violent and aggressive at one point in your life, but look at you now. You are peace, baby.
Yes.
You are peace.
Yes. And I'm seeking after it every day.
I'm seeking it every day. And guess what? You help other people to embrace their peace on their healing journey. The person that got kicked out of school for fighting, the person that was like literally being physically violent as often as she could, is now in a totally different. That's loving on me.
Yes.
That's acknowledging the fact that there's been growth. There has been evolution, and there has been healing, and continues to be healing. And I have to acknowledge that. So nobody else in the whole wide world ever has to acknowledge that. That's right.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And like my therapist was like, girl, and I remember, and I told you about this, and I said, I said to my therapist, like, man, I'm lazy. Like, and I kept talking, right? And she hit me with one of these. And I'm like, I kept talking. So she was like, you what? I said, oh, I'm lazy. Like, I just ain't been having the creativity and she said, but you what? She asked me like 4 or 5 times. I didn't catch it. She said, oh, okay, let's just talk about the things you've accomplished in the last 6 months. Do lazy people? And I was like, oh, I literally dishonored myself in that moment.
That's why that love letter is important, because we don't even see
Yeah.
We don't even see where we're amazing. We don't even see the growth because we're too busy down on ourselves, saying we still not good enough. So that's why it's important to keep on loving on you, like you said.
Yeah. And this was recent. That's the importance of this is the importance of journaling.
Yes.
This is the importance of journaling. And this is the importance of like having a really good tribe also, because even when I said it to you, before I even told you, like, you was like, what?
Who's lazy? I said, hold on. I said, didn't you just do 2 events the last 2 weekends? Like, you had like several events. I was like, what? Who is she? I didn't know she was talking about. I was like, who is she talking about? Who is she talking about?
I had to check myself though.
She had different groups. She had this group. She had this group. She like, okay, next. And then she'd be like, Shimeka, come on with it. I'd be like, mm-hmm. I was like, maybe she was talking about me. I'll be like, okay, cousin, I'll be there. I got you.
I wasn't talking about you, cousin.
I know you weren't talking about you. That's why I was like, I don't know what
you're talking about. Okay, we gotta keep going, because sometimes we apologize, y'all. We'll be thinking we on the phone with each other.
Right. Right. Man. Oh, okay, real quick. And we were talking about dealing with parents' shortcomings. So sometimes our trauma is because our parents didn't know no better. Sometimes the trauma we face or the stuff we deal with our parents is because we still, first of all, we're still holding on to the idea of what they should have been. We're still holding on to, oh, they should have been this type of mother. Oh, they should have been this type of father. Oh, they should have just been around, right? But what I had to do when I was, because my dad at the time, me and my dad besties now. So if you're watching this, I love you, Daddy, because you're my bestie still. But he had some struggles, when he was with my mother. And so it's interesting. It was like I had to pull back, right? I had to step myself outside of being his child, right? And I had to look at his upbringing or his situation or his, like, how he felt. He had some trauma in his life, and so he only knew what he knew. And there was 10 kids. Like he was one of the youngest. So he's like, attention, I need me some attention. So he did what he had to do to get whatever attention he needed. And so, and there was something else, but he had his own trauma. And so in order for me to even forgive or heal, like, because first of all, if you don't, and that's a whole nother story, is forgiving the person that harmed you, right? And it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. It has everything to do with you.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with them. When you know you've healed from somebody is when you can speak their name. Again, I feel like at the beginning, when you can speak their name and there's no more, it's nothing there. It's nothing there. Did I say that one at the beginning when I said my friend, and then we went somewhere, and then my friend sent a message, and the guy I used to deal with had made a comment, and she was like, girl, I thought he was blocked, right? And I wanted to be like, and it was nothing. It was like, he's irrelevant. Like, it was really irrelevant. Yeah. I had no charge, no anger, no, oh, I miss him. It was nothing. It was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest thing. So with my dad, I had to, like, because I wasn't the best daughter either. Like, we was arguing hit back and forth. So I had to, again, look at myself. I could have done better. I only knew what I knew, though. My dad was a yeller. I was a yeller. We was yelling. And then I had to forgive him and accept him for who he was, like, for who he is, not what he should have been, right? The idea of what a father should be. The idea, like, I had to forgive him. And it helped me. It helped me grow. It helped me grow. And now we have a wonderful relationship. Like, and then it was still some growing that needs to be done, like in the relationship, you know, because I had to learn to set boundaries, say, no, daddy. Like I had to learn how to tell my dad, no, dad, no, I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his little fit, but we got over it and we moved on. And so we have to, so in our parents' shortcomings, they only know what they knew from their parents.
Yeah.
And so each generation is like getting a little bit at a time, like, okay, I'm going to do better than that. Okay, I'm going to do better than that one. Okay, you know,
Yeah.
so hopefully by the last generation, you'll be like, yay, we made it, you know, but there's no maybe. Because there's always something.
Yeah.
If the world don't fuck you up, then, no, I'm saying. But yes. So when you are able to, oh my gosh, it's so freeing, you guys. It's so freeing because I don't like to be controlled. So when I can speak somebody's name that has done me dirty and I still, and here's the thing. Now, I still had a dude blocked, right? But it's not out of anger or hurt anymore. It's blocked because he's just not healthy, right? And he's going to try to keep getting in. And so I have to protect myself.
Right.
So, you know, but when I can say his name and like, or when he can show up and, you know, I'm still like, I'm good. And I'm constantly checking in with myself. Okay, how you feeling, Shimeka? Do you need to leave? We good? Okay, no, we good? Okay, no, you're okay.
Yeah.
I check in with myself like, how we feeling about that? We okay? Somebody say, hey, we should go. Hold on. Shimeka, you okay? You want to go there? Do you want to get over there? No, you don't want to. You want to go home because you want to go sleep. Okay, no, I won't be going to that because I value me and my time.
Exactly. I love that. That's a good segue into the questions and comments. I really enjoyed tonight's conversation because we delved so much deeper than our last conversation. Yeah, we delved a little bit deeper than our last conversation, but I think like that's important because we talked in our first session, we talked about how it's important that we don't speak certain things into existence negatively, right? Because if we're saying that all men are bad, all women are bad, if we're saying that is going to become our reality. If we don't take the time to heal in between relationships,
right,
and just say, you know what, these are some things. And when I say heal in between relationships, and you can tell me your thoughts on this, my thoughts are on that is when you can identify the role that you played and you're not focused on the role that they played, that's the healing work. Because the common denominator of what's going into the next relationship is you, not the person that you was with before.
Nope.
Not whatever flaws and faults they had.
Right.
It's you. You're taking you into the new relationship.
Yes.
So the evaluation process has to be,
man, are you taking the best version of you into this next situation? And then
that's what it's about.
Man.
So
and then again, identifying if they're a reflection of you too.
Yeah. So when I say that healing, that's what I'm talking about. I'm observing me. I'm looking at, because there was a time I didn't. There was a time I would be like, I can't believe he did this to me. He just destroyed my life. He.
Girl, that's why they ain't no good. Because it's all of them.
Yeah.
I remember when
all men act crazy.
All of them. I remember again, this was recent now. Because again, this was recent. This one was like last year, 2 years ago. I was driving down the street one day and I started thinking about the relationships that I had. And I was like, because here's the thing. You know what I asked for? I'm going to tell you what I asked for. I said, I just want somebody I can have sex with and have fun with and we be friends. And I get that. And I'm like, but I want to be in a relationship with you. And they'd be like, no. And I'd be like, see, they was the issue. And I started thinking like, wow. Here, the first thing is that everything I asked for, I got, right? I asked for exactly what I wanted. And I tried to make something that was supposed to be a relationship because it's what I really, and it's what I really, really wanted, right? But I just couldn't admit it because I still had the wall up and I needed to have that superficial because I was like, I just wanted a superficial situation. And I was like, a man eater. What's that song? Whoa, here she come. Watch out. I was like, oh my
Marcus
God,
over
it was me.
here like this.
Oh, she's a man eater. I was like, I'm a man eater. It was me. It was never them. I'm on spitting. It was never them. It was never them. I have no one to blame but me. I mean, they went like most of them wasn't shit either, but it's because I asked for them. I asked for this. What I asked for.
Got what you wanted.
I got what I asked for. Thank you, universe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And then I tried to change it up in the middle.
Do
I
we
was
have
like, it was all me. Any questions, comments, questions? Any questions?
Nope. I wanted
We
to
got
check
9
in while
minutes.
Yeah. So we don't have any questions. We don't have any comments. But we can close it out with some stuff since we don't have any questions or comments. I saw some people kind of drop off, and maybe they'll come back and watch the replay later. But I want to end the conversation by saying that healing is not this magical, wonderful, beautiful thing, right? We've acknowledged that. We've both shared some of our own personal stories as it relates to this journey.
Right.
But I think the main thing and the main takeaway as you close out of watching this is to know that without acknowledging certain things about ourselves, it stifles our growth. It stifles our healing and what all the wonderful, amazing things that can come into our lives. And we end up missing out on great opportunities. We end up missing out on great relationships and friendships and business connections. And through all of that, that is the message that we want to leave you with. So by healing and by doing the work, by acknowledging the things that might need to occur within and not looking externally, but just looking within yourself, going completely internally and examining some things. And of course, I'm going to always promote journaling.
Yes.
With poetry prompts.
Yes.
Because like it really is the gateway, one of the gateways to a more fulfilling, it's more fulfilling of a process to heal.
Yes.
Rather than just constantly be like, I'm gonna look, yes, it's a plug.
Yes.
I'm just gonna look in the mirror and I'm gonna, no, write it out.
Right.
Write it out, put it on paper, release that. You know, and even when I was, another plug, even when I was doing my webinar on this, I was telling people like, I cannot even, it's so much to tell you about the benefits of journaling.
Yes.
I couldn't even name them all.
Right.
That's how the first time I went to therapy, that's what the therapist said. First thing the therapist said, journal and then write and then walk every day. The two main things that my therapist started off with, journal and walk.
Yep.
And I was like, are you serious? I'm paying you all this money for you to tell me to write and to walk? And I am
to write and to walk.
But it was the most beneficial thing that I've done to date. It has allowed me to see me for me.
Yes.
It has allowed me to become more self-aware. And it hasn't been easy, but it's definitely been worth it.
Yes.
So what you got?
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. I was going to say too, yes, the journey of healing is, but once you go through it, once you go through the fire to the window to the, okay, I'm gonna stop singing. For a chance
and I ain't no good.
With you.
And I ain't no good. I'm back up.
Once you go through the fire, though, you will be refined. you will be refined,
Yes.
and you will continue to be refined if you
Shine
continue.
bright
If
like
you don't
a diamond.
shine bright like a diamond, shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright.
Marcus over here like,
Right.
he's too nuts.
It's like, oh my gosh, here they go again. Karaoke. Next, that's the next when I come out, karaoke. Okay. but man, it's like when you release that, when you open that up, when you open yourself up to you, to healing you, you'll be more of more of you. You'll be more of you. And you open up space for so much else to show up.
Yeah.
Like when you release, it's like when you release, it's like pruning a tree. You prune, you cut off them dead ends, like trimming your hair. You cut off the dead ends, you trim the dead leaves, you get new growth.
Yeah.
You get new growth. So sometimes it's time to prune so you can get that new growth. And sometimes you still got to prune on a regular.
Ooh,
you got to prune on a regular. Won't he do
that
it?
Was a good way to
Won't
end.
he do it? Won't he do it? How does it get any better than that? And guess what? All of life comes to us with ease and joy and glory. And how does it get any better than that?
Yeah. That girl good. That girl good. That girl good.
That's good. That's good, baby. That's good. Right there.
Okay, y'all. So if you have questions or comments, as we told you before, leave us some comments here. Shoot a message. But this is Date Affirm the Real. This is our DAR therapist, Shimeka, in the building, all the way from the West Coast.
Right. I'm like, we don't do face stuff. We don't do the face.
So thank you all for joining us this evening. Thank you, cousin, for your amazing, amazing gifts and abilities and sharing them with us. And babe, would you like to say something from the sidelines tonight?
Good night.
He be trying to be Russell Simmons. All right, love y'all.
Mwah. Toodles.